Mark Walship from Body Yoga Principles. So let's look today at the implicit ideas of goodness in yoga. So I've been around the yoga world for 20 years, quite a lot the last few years. I'm really kind of making that a major study in the UK, but also abroad. It's very interesting what ideas make you good in yoga, and it's often implicit, so I want to kind of bring it out a little bit. Classic kind of what we might call body prejudice. Beauty equals goodness. Goodness equals beauty. You'll see this idea goes back to the Bible, to Leviticus. Is that the name of the book? It's a bit tired here. This idea that if you're more beautiful, you're a good person. Psychological studies, people will still rate people like more attractive people, be better presidents, whatever. Moral goodness equated to physical goodness, particularly of certain things like the spine, for example, being upright, blah blah blah. Now, there's some, of course, somatic level here. We can talk about values and ethics being embodied. You'll see that in the kind of my precious, the kind of junky, gollumy kind of way of being that, you implicitly don't trust that for good reason. So there is an embodied level. However, the simple body prejudice that if you look great, you look like, society's latest version of attractive, particularly, you are therefore a good person. So I think this is definitely going on in the yoga world, that if you're, blonde and beautiful and skinny and blah, 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 you're therefore more spiritual. That's how it's usually expressed in yoga land, right? A more spiritual person. And it's often quite subtle, quite implicit, sometimes sort of blatant on the outside, but denied. Lots of levels of it, but I think that's really there, and it's really worth looking at. Do I in some way equate physical beauty with goodness? And you'll see from the sort of the Instagrams, the physical beauty that's expressed, somehow it's supposed to make you a more spiritual person, and we still pick our spiritual leaders to be, if not Asian, then certainly kind of shiny and attractive. You'll see that in the sort of Americans particularly. The next one, more athletic or more flexible. So somehow equating flexibility of the body, or strength of the body, usually flexibility in yoga, with moral goodness. Somehow, if you've got bendy enough, you're now a really good person. And this doesn't really make sense. I come from the martial arts, used to have the same thing. We used to call it the black belt arsehole. Someone developed a lot physically, but hadn't developed ethically along that way. So now, while yoga or martial arts or any kind of physical path can be used as an ethical development path, can be part of the training, believe, if I dare say, should be. It's not necessarily the case, and certainly the more flexible you are, it's just ridiculous. Or else, what is it? Well, my teacher says 6-year-old Chinese gymnasts would all be enlightened, right? Who are the most flexible, the most strong? If you look at a real weightlifter, gymnasts just kick ass out of yoga people compared to a lot of these things, and they're not better people, right? So yeah, again, while the path can be used as a form of ethical development, it's a sort of crude oversimplification to actually, worse than that, to say that if you're more flexible, you're a better person. And again, that's somehow implied. It's often kind of implicit. It's often kind of subtle. Somehow implied. Other things that are supposed to make you a good person in yoga, like how close you are to the guru. Did you meet people who say, I trained with Pattabhi Jois, or I trained with Iyengar, even though these guys were fucking horrible abusers. No, it's a fact. There's a video online. It's not even controversial. There's somehow being close to the source, being closer, and it can be like, having trained in India with some shitty Indian teacher rather than, I don't know, Canada with someone awesome like Michael Stone. It just doesn't make sense, right? But this is, again, the kind of implicit moral theory. If you're somehow close to the source, whether it's the guru or the country of origin, and, in Aikido terms, this is people going to Japan, China for Kung Fu or whatever, Shaolin Temple, there's some terrible training at the Shaolin Temple, you're somehow, again, a better person. Yeah, close to the source, closer to the guru. So, what have we covered? Being pretty makes you good. Being athletic, being flexible makes you good. Being close to the source makes you good. And, of course, the sort of foreign exoticism side. You're a better person if you I don't know, fucking speak Sanskrit, or you can, use the foreign terminology, dress in the right clothes, the whole sticking feathers up your ass to become a chicken thing that's so popular in yoga land today. So if those things don't make you a better person, well, what does? I'm certainly no saint myself, but having a system of ethics, studying a system of ethics, there is a way in which ethics can be embodied, and doing an embodied practice as part of what you're doing. I don't just mean just physically, if you're more flexible, then you're a better person, but actually working through the body with your values, learning how to take a stand, learning how to say no, learning to be more open, blah 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 blah. Yeah, as well as the kind of ethical system, which is part of traditional yoga, yamas and niyamas, part of Buddhism, etc., etc. So not confusing those ridiculous things with being a good or morally better person, and I just want to say, like, please just be mindful. Notice how those things can kind of creep in subtly. I'm sure there's a few more I've missed out, but there's some of the main ones.